Muslims say that Muhammad was a descendant of Ishmael, and most Muslims consider themselves, in a religious sense, descendants of Ishmael. With that, let's turn to the Bible, Genesis chapter 16, verses 11 through 12. Behold, you are with child, and you will bear a son. You shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord has heard your affliction. He will be a wild man. His hand shall be against every man, and every man's hand against him. Well, that pretty much sums up the 1400-year history of Islam. Though some of you may still be wondering, will Muslims always be in conflict with their neighbors? Can't they all just get along? Well, let me explain further, or better yet, I'll let Ishmael's descendant Muhammad explain. Qur'an Surah 9:123. Fight those of the disbelievers who are near to you, and let them find harshness in you. And know that Allah is with those who keep their duty unto Him. Well, I guess not. So as always, God is accurate in His prediction. Now, let's fast forward about 2,000 years and turn to 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 3 through 4. Let no one in any way deceive you, for it will not come, referring to the second coming of Christ, unless the apostasy comes first. Now let's stop here, the apostasy, or as the New King James says, the falling away. What could that be? 1 Timothy chapter 4, verses 1 through 3. But the Spirit explicitly says that in latter times some will fall away from the faith, giving heed to deceitful spirits and doctrines of demons, speaking lies and hypocrisy, having their own conscience seared with a hot iron, forbidding to marry, and commanding to abstain from certain foods which God created to be received with thanksgiving by those who know the truth. Forbidding people to marry. What religious organization forbids people or certain people to marry? Anyway, back to 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. Let no one in any way deceive you, for it will not come unless the apostasy comes first, and the man of lawlessness is revealed, the son of destruction, who opposes and exalts himself above every so-called God or object of worship, so that he takes his seat in the temple of God, displaying himself as being God. Let's read that last line again. So that he takes his seat in the temple of God, displaying himself as being God. What's on the Temple Mount today? The Dome of the Rock, the third most sacred shrine in Islam that says, there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. While you're contemplating this passage, let's turn to another one of Paul's letters, Galatians chapter 1, verses 8 through 9. But even if we, or an angel from heaven, preach any other gospel to you than what we have preached to you, let him be accursed. As we have said before, so now I say again, if anyone preaches any other gospel to you than what you have received, let him be accursed. So Paul, who proven through the fulfillment of the prophecy in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 is speaking for God, says that even if an angel preaches anything other than Jesus Christ and him crucified, let him be accursed. Keep this in mind as we continue. Fast forwarding almost 6 centuries to the sands of what is now Saudi Arabia, we read a story found in the Islamic text in Bukhari, Volume 1, Book 1, Hadith number 3, which is narrated by Muhammad's child bride Aisha, who he married when she was 6 and started having sexual relations with her when she was 9. Bukhari, Volume 7, Book 62, Hadith number 64, 65, and 88. Which, by the way, is against what is said in Song of Solomon's chapter 8, verses 8 through 9, and 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 36. We find the first of what would be a series of revelations over a 20-year period given to Muhammad by an angel, who would later identify himself as Gabriel. In the first of these revelations, the angel appears to him in a dream and tells the illiterate Muhammad to read. When Muhammad replies he can't read, the angel seizes him and presses him to the point of death, while at the same time saying, among other things, "Your Lord is most generous." Picture the visual here. Beating up and choking someone, while at the same time saying how generous they are. Sounds like something a gangster would do. Anyway, after the third replay of this scenario, Muhammad runs home frightened to his wife Khadijah, jumps in bed, and hides under the covers. Now, let's compare Muhammad's Gabriel, the one who likes to beat and choke, with the Gabriel from the Bible. The prophet Daniel, writing about his revelation from Gabriel, says in Daniel chapter 8, verse 18, "But he touched me and stood me upright." So Muhammad's Gabriel throws him down to the ground and chokes him, and Gabriel from the Bible touches Daniel and stands him upright. Interesting. Now let's compare the Jesus of the Qur'an and the Jesus of the Bible. Muhammad, speaking the words revealed to him by his angel, said in Quran Surah 4:157, "But they killed him not, nor crucified him. But the resemblance of Jesus was put over another man, and they killed that man. And those who differ therein are full of doubts. They have no certain knowledge. They follow nothing but conjecture. For surely they killed him not." Modern English translation: I, Muhammad, an illiterate man who was born 6 centuries after the fact, really know what happened. The angel who beat me up and choked me said that Jesus was not crucified, someone who looked like him was. And those guys from the 1st century who were alive at the time, they don't know what they're talking about. Now, turning to the book of Matthew, one of those who were there with Jesus in the 1st century, what do we find Jesus saying to Peter when Peter told Jesus that he will not be crucified? Matthew chapter 16, verse 23. "Get behind me, Satan. You are an offense to me, for you are not mindful of the things of God, but the things of men." So according to Matthew, someone who was there with Jesus in the 1st century, Jesus says that anyone who does not want him to be crucified is either following the will of Satan or following their own earthly desires. Again, very interesting. Now, turning to the history of al-Tabari, Islam's most trusted historian, we find in Tabari Volume 6, page 83. This is Muhammad bin Abdullah, who claims that Allah has sent him as his messenger with this religion, and that the treasures of Persia and Rome will be given to him in conquest. And also Bukhari Volume 9, Book 87, Hadith number 141. I heard Allah's apostle saying, "While I was sleeping, the keys to the treasures of the earth were brought to me and put in my hand." So as we conclude, Muhammad's angel who beat him up and choked him not only told him that Jesus was not crucified, but if he did what he told him to do, he would make him very rich. This gangster analogy is making more and more sense as we continue. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 9. "For the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil." And 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 14. "And no wonder, for Satan himself transforms himself into an angel of light." 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 3 through 4 and 9 through 10. "Let no one in any way deceive you, for it will not come unless the apostasy comes first, and the man of lawlessness is revealed, the son of destruction, who opposes and exalts himself above every so-called God or object of worship, so that he takes his seat in the temple of God, displaying himself as being God. That is, the one whose coming is in accord with the activity of Satan, with all power and signs and false wonders, and with all the deception of wickedness for those who perish, because they did not receive the love of the truth, so as to be saved."